email after we conclude today. Secondly, everyone in attendance today has been registered to win a $500 Amazon gift card, which will be selecting the winner at random at the conclusion of today's event, so be on the lookout for that email as well. And thirdly, if you do not follow us or like us on LinkedIn and Facebook, please go ahead and do so. We're constantly doing technical demonstrations such as this one, whether it's a new product release or if we're giving tips and tricks. So I think the next one that we have coming out should be for customers on 12/5, and then we have another tech demonstration on 12/13. So be on the lookout for those webinars as well. So with all those details taken care of, I'm going to turn it over to Max Lindauer, who is our solutions engineer, who is going to be running us through the 10.3 demo. But before I do, Max and I had a bet going a little bit earlier today, so I just have one polling question. And throughout today's webinar, we are going to have a couple polling questions. This one is actually Thanksgiving related. So for all of our folks in the U.S., we just celebrated Thanksgiving. Max and I were having a debate on who or what is the favorite Thanksgiving food from everyone's meal. So is it turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, or maybe it's pie? So I'll leave this open for a second, and you guys can help Max and I come to our conclusion on our bet. So we'll leave it open. All right, some good answers coming in here. I think I might be right, Max. I'm going to close the poll down in about 10 seconds to lock your answers in. Wow, that was actually a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, Max. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks everybody for participating in that poll. It turns out Kevin did win. He put his money on pie. I was heavily in favor of turkey, the classic, but pie has edged out turkey today in that polling question. So
by 2 votes,
again,
though, Max.
Yeah, by 2 votes. It was very close, but I'll give it to you, Kevin. So now that Thanksgiving's over, we've eaten all of our turkey and pie, it's time to focus on what really matters here, and in this case, that's the new software release, 10.3 for Unitrends. And one of the main things that this brings the Unitrends customer base is the ability to do long-term data management, image-level backups, and WAN-optimized backups and replication as well. So one of the things that we see a lot when it comes to overall backup, DR, and data management is that data retention requirements are becoming more and more challenging. And this is thanks to regulations such as HIPAA or SOC compliance. Companies are no longer just measuring data retention periods in days or weeks, but really in years. And as enterprise data volumes continue to grow exponentially, the economics of traditional data management force IT to move data to lower cost media like tape or rotational disk for long-term retention. And this approach really can ultimately waste IT resources time on low-value data management tasks and just make the general accessibility and recovery of that retained data slow and cumbersome. For folks who currently or in the past have had to do full DR recoveries from tape, you know exactly what I mean. It's certainly not an easy process. It takes a lot of time to pull those tapes in and unspool them and get them to work, and ultimately they might not work if they weren't stored correctly. So as a result, many companies are taking shortcuts, right? They only perform DR testing once a year, if that. They may also just preload their tapes and set up kind of unrealistic recovery scenarios for testing. So no one really knows for sure what a recovery would look like ultimately in a real DR event without doing recurring frequent tests. So in terms of how Unitrends can help, let's take a closer look. In a typical backup offsite retention and DR environment, IT admins can really waste a lot of time worrying about where to keep their data, how long to archive it, and then which backups to delete after short retention periods. So Unitrends provides an all-in-one, simple data backup retention DR protection solutions with our own hardware as well as software appliances that can integrate directly with third-party clouds as well as the Unitrends cloud for offsite storage, that long-term compliance, and full failover guaranteed within 1 hour through SLA in the Unitrends cloud. So we've added advanced technology such as machine learning analytics, predictive analytics technology that will proactively anticipate and resolve issues before they happen, as well as that white glove service really takes all the stress and hassle out of getting a DR site up and running and takes it out of your hands. So, and of course, best of all, we document and prove recoverability, recovery SLAs, and have been able to provide our customers an extremely high level, over 99% customer satisfaction with having 100% US-based support, protecting multiple types of environments, be them physical servers, virtual environments, agentlessly like VMware, Hyper-V, Xen, and AHV, as well as SAN and NAS devices through CIFS, NFS, or NDMP protocols. So all of that data is then backed up locally, deduplicated and compressed into that appliance, either physical or virtual. Then through that WAN optimized transfer, you can replicate to the Unitrends cloud, to your own private recovery site, while maintaining that monthlies and weeklies and yearlies worth of data directly on the appliance as well as in the cloud to give you that long-term retention. So we talk about our cloud, the Unitrends cloud, being purpose-built for backup DR and long-term retention. And what does that really mean? It means the design and cost is all made for backup and DR. And what that means for you as the customer is that there's not going to be any ingress or egress fees. You can complete ahead of time a DR plan, have automated DR testing in the cloud, and then if there is an actual disaster, no touch, just give us a call, connect directly to an engineer, and then have that environment spun up guaranteed through that contractual SLA. Now, we also have the ability to provide infinite retention or yearly retention to the choice that you may have. And unlike general purpose clouds like AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, we really eliminated the setup and maintenance hassle. So there's not going to be any unexpected costs for utilizing the solution for backup, replication, or DR. And we've also really eliminated the expense for bulk data in and out, as we have the ability to do what we call rapid seed, where we'll send you a NAS, you load that data up locally, ship it back to us, as well as in the recovery, we can just ship a NAS or a new Unitrends appliance back to you overnight. So with that being said, I'm going to kick it back to Kevin for the second and third polling question of the webinar.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. I always just do a great job of describing that. So with that, we're going to open it up here, and just out of curiosity, just get a general vibe of the room, just kind of curious as to what current solution you're using. So maybe you're already on 10.3, maybe you're using an older Unitrends version, and maybe you're a little bit reluctant to take that new step to 10.3 until you see all the features. Maybe you're using a completely other solution, or maybe a combination of other vendor solutions. So go ahead, take a minute and answer there, and we will wrap up this poll shortly. All right, just a couple people finishing up here. We'll let them answer. Pretty interesting results on this one. Looks like most people are still on an older Unitrends version, with a couple people already bumping up to version 10.3. All right, wrap this up here. About 15 more seconds for anyone still trying to lock in an answer. All right, and for the third question here, just out of curiosity, if you're reevaluating your backup and DR solution within the next year, so I'll go ahead, open that up, either a yes or a no. All right, pretty even split here. Looks like a couple more people are not reevaluating within the next year, the next 12 months. So I'll leave that open for about 10 more seconds. You guys can punch in your answers. And I will turn it back to you, Max.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks again, everybody, for participating in the survey. Pretty interesting results. Most of the folks here on the call are using a legacy or an older version of Unitrends. A handful of people using other solutions, and then pretty split almost down the middle on folks who are reevaluating their backup and DR strategy going into the next year. So just kind of interesting results. Thanks again for participating. We'll have, I think, one more polling question at the tail end of the webinar here, but it's always nice to get some input from the folks on the call. So one of the things that I brought up earlier in terms of overall efficiency and best practices when it comes to backup and disaster recovery is recovery testing, and really how much of a pain and frustration that can be, especially if you're using old media or cold media like disk or tape. There can be a lot of pain points there. So with Unitrends, we have automated DR testing with recovery assurance. So this is a really nice way, and for those who aren't familiar, this is the Unitrends dashboard. You would see on the dashboard recovery assurance as a tile for those who are using Enterprise Plus. This automatically tests the validity of your backups by spinning them up based on the order and networking information you choose. So in their own isolated sandbox, it will automatically spin up the backups into their own sandbox environment, test against your RPO and RTO. And then once those machines are up, it'll actually run an executable test that you decide, whether it's a custom PowerShell script or a SQL query with an expected output, or an Exchange DAG test, or a Windows service test, or pinging a host, what have you. This is a great way to ensure that your backups are valid, that the machines are going to operate in the way you would expect, as well as that all of the recovery, in this case, would meet your compliancy objectives. So a really powerful tool that can automate recovery testing, give you a full demo lab environment to do your own testing, as well as one-click failover, spinning up everything live. So again, this recovery assurance will work both locally as well as in the Unitrends cloud, so that you understand what the impact of an outage would be, either if there's a local issue or if you need to do a full DR spin up in the cloud. It'll all be tested and guaranteed to recover within that SLA. So currently we're running over 12,000 recovery assurance tests per quarter with the Unitrends user base, which is pretty exciting. That number is going up rapidly, as this is a relatively new feature set that we've been rolling out. Really great to know and to see that the Unitrends customers are really utilizing the solution, getting that confidence in their ability to recover, and really helping them sleep a little bit better at night, knowing that not only are their backups good, they have a green check mark, that's always nice, but that the recoveries themselves are being tested and being confirmed. So this is what the recovery report, the data copy access report, would look like, both in the user interface as well as through email. So you can see here it'll outline every single step of the process, from booting to configuration to running that executable to testing against RPO and RTO compliance. This is great for use, for example, for like auditing. We have a lot of customers in healthcare who have to deal with HIPAA auditing. They can just directly submit these reports to the auditor. And this is also included in email notifications as well. So I'm sure there might be folks in your organization who don't handle the management of your backups day to day, but they still want to ensure that business continuity is a goal that is achievable, and that we're testing to confirm that. Now, you might see here there are some failures as part of the test. It'll show you where the failure was and why there was an issue. Again, failing during a DR test is kind of the point, right? You want to uncover any issues or failures before there's an actual live DR event. And that's really why we're testing, to ensure that we're going to be good if there's an actual disaster event, and make any changes that we need to before the pressure is really on. So I'm going to jump out of the interface, out of the PowerPoint here, and kind of jump into the interface. Just want to highlight some of the key differences between the 10.3 software release compared to previous versions, and for those who aren't current Unitrends customers, just give a general high-level overview of the solution as a whole. So for those who aren't familiar, you access the interface by typing in the IP of the appliance on a local browser. The dashboard gives you summary tiles, information, high level about your backups. So you know the summary information for your backups, replication, automated recovery testing, archiving the cold media, which is commonly used for that longer-term storage. On the top right, you'd see any alerts. For example, we're doing proactive ransomware detection, so we're going to tell you what time, what machine was affected, so that you can do an internal investigation and understand what's going on to quickly recover from a previously tested point in time if need be. Now, these tiles are customizable, so you can pick and choose which tiles you see. You can move tiles around so that information that's really important and relevant to you is front and center. And of course, summary information is great and important to know, but it is worth mentioning if you want to go into the details. For example, those 8 successful tests that have run through recovery assurance, what does that mean? Let's go into the weeds here. If you click on the tile, it'll pull up its correlated report. Here you see the full report of all the recovery tests that have run. You can customize the tiles, drill into individual columns. You'll see this throughout the interface. Really makes it easy to isolate information that you're looking for. And then if I were to click on any one of these tests, here's where you see that full DR test. It's also included through email notification, so just to kind of pull up what this would look like through email. Here you see this job report and the entire process. Here there was an issue with RPO compliance, so we just need to know that we need to go in and change the frequency of those backups to meet your RPO goals. Now, down on configure, this is where we're just going to connect the appliance to the outside world. You know, whether you want to write off to disk or tape or NAS or SAN or connect directly to the Unitrends cloud or a secondary Unitrends appliance. Really easy to access all those different secondary targets right here through the configure tab. And also worth mentioning, you can add multiple appliances to be managed from the same pane of glass here. You can create role-based access for different user access and credentials, set up email notification, as well as enable encryption with AES 256-bit encryption using your own passphrase here. Now, under protected assets, this is just where we're going to connect directly to a physical server or virtual machine, either through our agent or directly through the hypervisor for agentless snapshotting. So you can see here we have VMs that we've connected to directly from the host for agentless snapshotting, as well as the ability to go in and isolate applications with our agent and back up physical servers with our agent as well. Now, something that you might see here that's a little unfamiliar for those who are using an older version of Unitrends is this manage retention option. So by default, previously we had what we call first in, first out, min-max retention. So we would just hold all of the backup points that we could until the appliance was full, and then we'd purge the oldest backups first to make room for new backups coming in. Now with 10.3, you have the ability to do GFS rotation directly on the appliance for those backups. Choose if you want dailies, weeklies, monthlies, or yearlies for different policies that you can create. So a really nice and simple interface and feature to allow you to keep years worth of data for compliance sake, as well as just that long-term retention directly on the appliance without having to write off to disk or tape. Now, no, we're also doing this in the cloud, so if you're replicating the cloud, we're going to hold on to that long-term retention depending on the retention window that you select. But it's really nice now we're able to give you quick file-level recovery access directly from the appliance for backups years in the past. Now, when you're creating these backup jobs, you can go through the SLA policy, choose machines either at the file level or image level now, which is a big change in 10.3. We're able to do image level backups of Windows physical and virtual machines through our image level agent. So instead of backing it up on the file level, we're backing it up on the image or disk level for those servers. So really increases the speed of both backup and replication through that WAN optimized transfer. Has a 10 times increase in speed. So it's 1,000% faster using that image agent. And it's not hyperbolic. That's actually been tested out through our engineers and in our beta client base. So really exciting changes and additions to the 10.3 software. And through this SLA policy, you're able to go in and select your RPO, where you want that data to offsite to. Retention is all set up through the retention policies in the configure tab. So in one place really allows you to manage everything you'd need to and set it up for those backups and replication and retention options. Now, where the rubber meets the road in terms of confirming you're meeting those SLAs, that's where data copy access comes in. So not only are you able to select virtual machines, physical servers, and back them up based on that RPO, but you can also go in and test to confirm that you're meeting those RPO and RTO goals. So you can create different profiles for RPO and RTO here, choose how often you want this DR test to execute, and then go in and define the options. Now, I didn't have AD here, but generally you'd want AD to boot first, then our SQL server can boot second. You can choose the location of the restore. So because this is a test, you're going to want it to be in its own isolated network so it doesn't impact production. You can re-IP the machine on restore, as well as run specific executable tests. So in this machine, it's a SQL query. We could run a PowerShell script, a malware scan, but because it's a SQL server, we'll run a query. We'll run a query with an expected output connected directly through AD in that isolated sandbox. So you understand the backup's valid, you can recover, you are compliant within your RPO and RTO guidelines, and that the application, in this case SQL, would behave as you would expect. So when it comes to recoveries here, a bunch of different options on how to do recoveries, as well as file level recovery. You can go in and actually just directly search. So our agent has indexed that machine. You can search by file name, file extension. For example, pull up all PDFs in that machine from a specific date or time or size. So not all the time when you get a file level recovery request do they know the exact folder tree location. And with this search functionality, you don't have to know. You can do a search by name, extension, date, size, and isolate and understand where that file is, and then where do you want to restore it to. So you can pick and choose which machine you want to restore it to, as well as create your own directory on restore as well. For image level restores for virtual machines, we can pre-build them as replicas, which just means taking a VMware snapshot or a Windows-based backup and pre-building it as an offline virtual copy on a secondary host. So we're able to go in and pre-build this server on the Unitrends appliance, on another Hyper-V or VMware host that you have configured, both locally or at a secondary site. So in that case, the DR event or the recovery process would just be however long it takes to boot up the machine, because it already would have been pre-built with that replica, constantly updating with every backup point that comes across. Now, we also have the ability to do instant recovery. Instant recovery will spin up the VM with the storage sitting on the appliance as an NFS share, connecting to the hypervisor through an API call, stands up the machine, and then migrates that data to the existing data store on the host using vMotion for VMware or storage live migration for Hyper-V. So what that means is that we don't have to rebuild the entire VM before turning it on. We can transform, turn it on, and then migrate all the data once it's already up and running to allow you to quickly restore those virtual machines or physical servers. And then here we have some applications isolated like SQL. Just want to highlight you can go in and restore a SQL database to a different SQL instance if you'd like, to a specific point in time if we're truncating the transaction logs, as well as run pre or post restore scripts as well. So ultimately, whether you want to do application level restore or just spin up the entire SQL VM is kind of up to you and your use case, but we give you the flexibility and the options to make that happen. Now, a common question we get around recovery is how to recover directly from the cloud. Is there a secondary cloud interface? How do we manage all of this? It's all managed directly through that single pane of glass. If you go to Backup Copy Hot here on the right and click Filter, that'll bring up all the machines that have been replicated to that secondary site. So you'll see here those backup points are now in purple, just connotates that the data is not hosted locally. And you can go in and directly recover files as if that data was local, and pick and choose singular files or shares to recover, as well as import that entire backup point back to the source appliance for bare metal restore. Now, when it comes to bare metal restore, I do want to highlight how simple and easy this is. We do what we call unified bare metal with Unitrends. So if you go to your file share, search Unitrends IP, click on virtual failover, you're going to see a WinVM ISO image, just a bare bones Windows PE ISO you can burn or to a disk or flash drive or load it up into your virtual environment. Deploy from that, and that'll open up a GUI, and then that'll point you back to the appliance to choose any file level point in time for Windows machines more recent than 2003. Includes all the metadata and system state information for bare metal restore, and really gives you that ease of use and quickly being able to restore the entire machine, OS, files, and applications as a whole. So you can always go in, create filters, and save them for future use. And really, really easy to manage and isolate both by date, host type, application type, all through the filters, find exactly what machines you're looking for. Now here under the Protect tab, here's a great place to go in and see high-level summary information for all the machines you're protecting, over the past week where they backed up successfully, where they replicated successfully or archived out. If there are any failures, you can always go in, view the details, and then read through the logs and understand the issue. Now again, you don't need to be an expert at reading logs. Looks like there was an issue with the VSS writer here. You can always go in through the interface, open a support tunnel, call or chat into support, and they'll VPN into your machine, check logs for you, troubleshoot, and point you in the best direction to get up and running quickly. So again, the support is one of the key value differentiators of Unitrends from other solutions in the market. Having a 100% US-based support team that's always available 24/7, 365 allows our customer base to feel confident that no matter what, they're not alone, especially in a DR event. We're here to help by guaranteeing that 1-hour recovery in the cloud, by helping you automate your recovery testing, by pre-building your environment on secondary hosts through the replica feature, as well as by increasing the speed and load of resources on your local environment through the image level protection and that WAN optimized replication as well. So thanks so much for kind of listening to a quick flyby of the interface. I do want to just jump back to the PowerPoint just to finish up kind of some final points here on the solution. So just to kind of give a quick overview, right? All of this backup, replication, DR, long-term retention is all managed through that singular management console. So it allows you to quickly search, like I showed you, to find specific files even from years out, as well as delete or put on hold specific backups. And ultimately, the goal here is to eliminate wasted time. Backup and DR is an incredibly important part of what we're doing. It's incredibly important to the business, but it's not something that should necessarily require a majority of the IT resources time. There's a lot of other projects that you're working on. Backup and DR can really be automated through a turnkey solution like Unitrends and really expedite both the performance as well as the confidence in your ability to recover. So ultimately what we found was that IT needs a better solution, specifically for Windows physical servers. We're seeing exponential data growth far beyond the pace of growth of IT professionals in the space. So there's a lot more data, more files to back up, and much less tolerance for losing data or downtime in general. So physical servers need fast, instant recoveries to any environment. And it's really too expensive to test all physical server backups in a manual sense for recovery testing. So with 10.3, and this is only included for the Gen 8 appliances, we see what we call performance acceleration. So this gives us a new way to store and replicate that inline deduplicated file data, double both backup and replication performance for file level inline backups, and really allows our customers to meet those replication windows with less cost and ultimately less work. So this is a major reason why folks should consider upgrading to 10.3 in that Gen 8 appliance. It's really game-changing, especially when it comes to that archive, long-term retention, allowing you to ditch your tape or rotational media, get all of that long-term retention directly on the cloud and on the appliance itself, giving you screaming fast backups and replication with 1,000% faster Windows backup and replication performance, giving you both that GFS rotation locally for long-term data management, and that value and security of proactive ransomware detection, all supported by that US-based support team. So there's really a lot of cool changes here that just help you fine-tune and increase the performance of your backup, replication, and long-term retention. Thanks so much for kind of listening through the presentation here. We're going to go through one of our last polling questions of the presentation before I complete with a few more slides here.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. And just wanted to note, too, that we do see these questions coming in, so keep them coming. We do have time set aside at the end to answer all your questions and go through those. So keep the questions coming. We love to see that. Last polling question that I just wanted to open up to the room here is, does your company have a long-term data retention goal set as part of its data management strategy? So I'll open that up. And the first one is either yes or no. Maybe you don't, and that's completely okay as well. Maybe you want to retain at least 3 months of data, a year of data, more than a year, or maybe you have some other kind of threshold that your retention goals have been set for. So go ahead and take a second there and answer that question, and we'll wrap up the polling here. All right, still some folks in progress I can see, so I'll give you guys at least 10 to 15 more seconds here to wrap up. Some interesting numbers coming in here. All right, looks good. I'll turn it back to you, Max.
Thanks so much, Kevin. And again, thanks everybody for participating in the polling here. The results are interesting, kind of what we were expecting. So there are a few handful of folks on the call who don't have any kind of retention goals or requirements from the company, but the vast majority have more than 1 year. And that's not to be unexpected. That's generally where things are heading in IT. It's save everything for as long as possible in the cheapest and easiest to manage way. And having long-term retention on the appliance itself really eliminates a lot of the work in maintaining that long-term data retention, as well as if it's off-site with the Unitrends cloud, makes it really simple to ensure that you're hitting those retention goals as well as that DR requirement with recovery assurance. So one of the last things here that I wanted to showcase was the new Generation 8 appliance line. So for those who aren't aware, we have come out with a new appliance line. Generation 8 has larger 12 terabyte drives, self-healing, lower energy usage, and overall just higher performance. We've eliminated a lot of the gaps, especially in the larger appliances, in capacity. So you'll see here that they're more equally spread out all the way from 2 terabytes to 120. And this kind of goes through the basic resources that are available on all of these appliances. So now this suggested backup calculation, this is done with 30 to 45 days retention locally on that appliance. Now with the GFS rotation, those numbers are a little bit different depending on how long and how much data you want to hold. So if you want to get accurately sized out with that long-term retention, I would reach out to your account manager or to the Unitrends sales department if you're not sure or aware of who your account manager is, and then we can always refer you over to one of our engineers like myself to help size you out appropriately. So just in kind of summary here, I want to talk through how Unitrends gives our customers an all-in-one, easy-to-manage, enterprise-level backup and DR plan, giving you the highest level of both data protection by proactively anticipating and resolving risks before they happen, reliable, secure backup locally, off-site, and DR, and that proactive ransomware detection as well. Really easy to manage, not a lot of hassle or babysitting required, automating backups, replication, DR testing, and giving you that white glove DR as a service with that US-based support as well. And ultimately, we're here to give you proof. We're here to give you confidence that your backups are valid, documented, compliant, and the applications and files within those machines will work as expected through that automated recovery testing. So just high level about the company as a whole, over 30,000 customers globally today. We've come a long way since the late 80s, and we just protected Unix systems. If you were curious, that's where the Uni and Unitrends comes from our old days doing bare metal backups of just Unix systems. Today, we're protecting over 2 exabytes of data with a 99% customer satisfaction rating, 95% customer renewal, with over 12,000 automated DR tests per quarter with Unitrends customers using that feature set. So really cool and awesome to see that people are utilizing it and gaining confidence through that automated recovery test. So what is 10.3 and Gen 8? What does this do for you? Allows you to easily, cost-efficiently manage long-term data retention, giving you faster backups and replication performance with Windows image level protection, as well as performance acceleration with all those Gen 8 appliances, and ultimately a low total cost of ownership, managed through a simple UI, better capacity utilization, faster restores, and give you back some time to manage the thousands of other things people in IT have to manage and not spend the majority of your time babysitting your backup solution. So again, obviously I work at Unitrends. I have a lot of great things to say about Unitrends, but the real recommendations and the real fans are who I like to hear through most. So if you're curious, you want to learn more about maybe upgrading or switching over to Unitrends, reach out. We can connect you with a Unitrends customer in your industry, in your area, to understand how Unitrends has helped them in case there was ever a data loss or disaster event. So through one vendor, less work, continuity both locally and in the cloud with automated testing in that secure, purpose-built Linux environment with proactive ransomware detection, all supported through that 100% US-based support team down in Columbia, South Carolina. So again, like Kevin mentioned earlier, please follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube. We're constantly promoting webinars like this one, as well as different events, lunch and learns, and IT conferences that we're attending. So I see a lot of questions here piling in, so I'm going to give you guys some time to ask some questions. Kevin, if there are any questions, if you could read them off to me, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely, Max. And I was just going to add, too, that if there are any Unitrends customers on the call today that would also like us to tell their story, maybe you've had a disaster or something happen to you where Unitrends came in and played a huge, significant impact in getting your data back, feel free to reach out to us as well. We were more than happy to kind of share your story and kind of spread the word amongst our other Unitrends customers as well. So don't be afraid to reach out to us and kind of have us voice your story as well. So, Max, I see a couple questions here. Some of them, a lot of them are asking, how do I know if I have or how do I get onto 10.3 or if I have Gen 8, a Gen 8 device? So I see a couple of those coming in. I don't know if you just want to touch on how people can get on the latest and greatest version or how they can tell whether or not they have a Gen 8 device.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the easiest way would just be reaching out to your account manager. But if you just want to look through yourself, you can click on the question mark icon on the appliance, click About, and that'll show you the version of the appliance. So if you're running 10.3 or lower. In terms of the generation of the appliance, for the physical appliances, it comes down a lot of times to the naming convention and when you purchase. So Gen 8 is relatively recent. You saw the spread all the naming conventions for those appliances are 8002, 8004, 8006 to 8120S, depending on the usable capacity. So that would probably be the easiest way. If you have any questions, you can always just reach out to sales@unitrends.com, and we can look you up and help clarify what you're currently using and what other options are out there for you.
Perfect. Great. Thanks, Max. And yeah, also I do know that if you want to reach out to either support and or your account manager, they can also look to see what generation appliance you have as well. So feel free to reach out to your account manager to see if you're really interested in seeing what generation you're on. So I have a question here from James. He says that he has 2 824s and 2 virtual appliances. He wants to know if he's going to see the increase in the backup time and performance increase, and kind of what is the cause for that increase?
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. So yeah, you should definitely see an increase in backup speed with the upgrade, especially if you move to the image level backup. So that would be a different type of backup than the file level backup. And the real reason for the increase in performance is that the data blocks we're going from the disk level, so they're larger, and we're doing comparative hashes and deduplication based on the source machine, so that we're only pulling unique data across that network. So there's less of a load on that local network where we don't have to dedupe onto the appliance as before. So that's one of the major reasons for the increase in speed is that block level agent. Something we've been road mapping and looking forward to for a very long time.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. Also, and it looks like Dave had a question here kind of piggybacking off of the first question. He said, what will happen when we upgrade to version 10.3? Will the current settings be moved until we change to the new retention times?
Correct. So if you had the min-max first in, first out retention mode by default previous, it'll continue to be in that mode. And then if you'd like to change it, then you can go through the interface, through the configure tab to change it for that GFS rotation.
Awesome. Question here from Paul is wondering, previously automated backup verification was only possible with a hypervisor level backups and not with Windows agent backups. Is that still the case?
No, so you can still do recovery testing with Windows agent backups if they're pre-created as replicas. So we'd have to have those Windows backups already built as a replica, either directly on the appliance itself, which can host replicas, or a secondary host. So you can always take a physical Windows server, pre-build it as a replica in VMware or Hyper-V, or on the appliance, you just need to have the resources available to host that for testing.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really great question, and still see a lot of really good ones coming in. So Greg here is curious. He wants to know if you do an image backup, can you use a file level restore with NTFS permissions?
That is a great question. I need to double check that. It's very specific. Yes. Sorry, I was just double checking the admin guide here. So yeah, absolutely able to recover from the image level backup with NTFS permission. Great question.
Awesome. Josh here is curious. Is the recovery assurance / testing included on 10.3, or does it only come with Enterprise Plus?
Another great question. That is an Enterprise Plus functionality. So if you're not currently using Enterprise Plus and you want to upgrade to 10.3, but you're really looking for that recovery assurance, it would require upgrading your software to Enterprise Plus. Now, if you're a current customer, I know we are doing promotions till the end of the year to switch out your appliance to a new one. All the appliances sold throughout the promotion, both for current customers and for new customers, will have Enterprise Plus included. So that might be a cost-efficient and easy way to get that updated software into your hands.
Great. Looks like John here has a question. He wants to know, with instant recovery, does the instant recovery partition on the appliance need to be big enough to handle the entire size of the VM?
It's a great question, and yes, it does. If instant recovery is important and you have a lot of machines you want to include on that, then that has to be part of the calculation for the overall capacity of that appliance, because the storage itself has to be provisioned for backups or directly for instant recovery.
Perfect. It looks like Rick is wondering, is there a possibility to archive to cloud only, i.e. cloud storage, or looks like cold storage for less used files?
Yep, I just want to make sure I'm understanding the question correctly, but you can choose what machines you want to archive to the cloud or to Amazon S3 or Google Cloud or Rackspace. So you can pick and choose which machine that you want to archive out. And for those archive jobs directly for like AWS or cold media, you can kick those off manually as well as automatically.
All right, and it looks like Martin here has a question. He's wondering, when is the 10.3 software going to be available in Europe?
That's a great question. I am under the impression that 10.3 is available worldwide.
I do believe it is as well. I was just going to add that up. But I think
I was a little hesitant. I didn't want to be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's available worldwide. So you can upgrade. You can download the new version directly from the website, or reach out to support, and they can assist with the upgrade as well.
Awesome. Let's see. It looks like. All right. It looks like Jake has another ad here just saying that Unitrends and Kroll for Exchange recovery worked flawlessly and restored inboxes within minutes. Thank you, Jake, for that. Let's see. We are running version 10.1. Can we upgrade to 10.3 directly, or do you need to step to 10.2 in order to get to 10.3?
That's a great question. I think because it's the same version as CentOS, you can go directly to 10.3. But again, I would just reach out to support to follow best practices, and they can walk you through that.
Yeah, just to echo that, I do believe you can jump to 10.3 as well, but do reach out to support, and they can help you, assist you to that upgrade as well. So Joseph here has a question, says, will file type backup speed increase as well with 10.3?
Yeah, I believe there is going to be some increase in speed for file backups due to just general increase and improvement in the deduplication method, as well as if you're using or if you've upgraded to a new appliance, performance and speed is much faster on the Gen 8 appliances as well. But even if you're just upgrading your software, you should see some noticeable increase in speed from the upgrade.
Awesome. Good question here from David. He's wondering, can you do a file level restore from image level backups?
Yes, it's a great question. Yes, you can. So not only is the backup fast and replication is incredibly quick, and local network utilization is low, but you can always dive in directly and restore individual files as well.
Yeah, that was a really good question. Let's see, Jake here has a question. What is the general time frame for upgrade rollout? So when should he be expecting to see it available from the interface?
I believe if you're not able to see it through the interface by check for updates, then you can just contact support to upgrade to 10.3. So it should be rolling out shortly, but if you want to get ahead of the curve and just grab a hold of it, you can always reach out to support, open up a case, and they can push that upgrade to you.
All right, another question here from Greg says, does the Gen 8 performance increase for image backups apply to VMware backups as well?
Yes. So there is going to be an increase in performance across the across the whole environment, especially when upgrading to that new Gen 8 appliance.
Great question here from Corey. Is the RxDA still an option for archiving jobs in 10.3?
Yes. Yep. We're not getting rid of any flexibility or performance here. We're just adding the option to increase long-term retention directly on the appliance. So if, for example, you want to restore files from a backup 5 years ago, instead of having to pull that disk in and then import it and then recover files, you can just directly recover them from the interface. But you can always continue to write off to disk or tape or public cloud, as well as we obviously encourage folks to use the Unitrends cloud as well for that longer-term retention.
Great. Looks like Nick here is a prospective customer. Wants to know, what's the average size of a customer environment for Unitrends? I know it varies, but I'll kind of let you handle that one, Max.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I don't know the standard deviation, mean, and mode and all that. I can say that it does vary widely. So we work with a lot of smaller institutions, terabyte up to 5 to 10. We also have customers in the petabyte as well. So we certainly scale. The largest appliance we have is 120 terabytes. And especially with the image level agent, this really increases our ability to manage large Windows servers with millions and millions of files. Using the file level backup method previously, there would be some latency and just general performance hindrances on larger machines. Now with the image level backup, we're able to increase the speed there and increase performance. So in terms of average, I would say anywhere from 50 to I guess maybe 100 terabytes, but we certainly have a lot of customers over and under as well. And that's why the solution is configured the way it is. You have a virtual appliance, which you can use your own hardware and set up your own resources, as well as a physical appliance, which comes purpose-built with the necessary resources depending on the size of the environment. So great question there. Sorry I didn't have that data front and center, but kind of gave my best effort there.
So very good question. All right, looks like Perry has a question here. He said that just curious to know if there have been any bugs with 10.3 in terms of in regards to replicate testing. He noted that in 10.2 there's maybe some bugs running with the SQL queries that we had that would either cause it to time out or error out, and had to go in and kind of fidget around with the settings until it works. So he's curious to see if there's been any reported bugs in 10.3 yet.
It's a great question, and I love that our customers are so attentive and able to find issues here and there and then let support know. So I can tell you with the 10.2 release itself, 90% of the changes that were added were customer suggestions. So we really do listen and care and want to hear back from our customer base on how we can improve the solution. As of yet, I have certainly not heard any issues with 10.3. Now that being said, it's been a week. So as we continue to work through it and any issues come up, please let us know so we can address it, patch it, and push that fix through in future releases.
All right, looks like James here has a question. Just kind of reading through here. just want to make sure I'm getting it correctly. It says, can you touch back on the feature of restoring to a sandbox and if its scheduling was part of that option?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me jump back to the interface. So the restore occurs either, you can do the sandbox restore in two ways, right? You can either just do a direct instant recovery of a VM or physical Windows. You can choose audit mode. You can choose the network to connect to. With the automated testing through data copy access, when you choose the machines you want to restore, choose the frequency of that test, the RPO, RTO, the frequency, then you go in and choose what sandbox environment you want to spin it up onto. So what's the network? What's the data store you want to utilize? So it's able to spin up directly on that sandbox environment. Now you can have their Windows servers, you can have that directly spun up on the Unitrends appliance for testing. But if they're VMware VM snapshots or Hyper-V, you're going to want to use the hypervisor in choice. But the network itself should be isolated from that production network, especially for a test, right? You don't want to have it impact production just because you're doing recovery testing.
Nice, yeah, and just kind of bouncing back to the previous question, it looks like James commented, James B said that he found a bug yesterday, but there's already a hot fix for it. So you can kind of quickly see how fast we're working on those updates. Another question from James M. He's curious, is there support for Xen servers for VM level backups?
Sorry, Kevin, can you repeat the question?
Sure thing. So James is curious, is there support for Xen servers for VM level backups?
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely. So we have supported Xen and continue to support Xen, similar in the way that we support VMware, Hyper-V, and Nutanix AHV. So yeah, we can tie directly through the hypervisor and snapshot VMs and Xen only with our virtual appliance if it's deployed to the master pool. With a physical appliance, we need to go in and run agent-based backups of those machines. But certainly have that capability. We've actually added support for 2 new hypervisor versions for Xen with this new release as well.
Great, and again, just want to be respectful of time. I know we're coming up to the top of the hour, so if you did ask a question and we didn't get back to you, we will follow up with you at the conclusion of today's webinar. Just so if you know a question that you want to ask and you don't know if we're going to have enough time to get to it, still chat it in and we will follow up with you once we log off today. So Nick is curious, for those customers on older appliances, is there any improvement or anything that they can expect to see from those older appliances, not on Gen 8?
Yep, they should see the ability to maintain data, going back in that GFS rotation, as well as the increase in performance for backups through that image level agent. You're going to need that Gen 8 appliance for the WAN optimized replication, as well as that self-healing aspect of it. But yeah, certainly should see some improvements from performance from the upgrade, especially when it comes to retention and recoverability of those previous backup points.
All right, and last question here from, it looks like there's so many James in this webinar today. It's kind of funny. Another question from another James, James S. He wants to know, they currently have 4 terabytes drives, and they're looking to kind of add some more, so they're looking to put on either 6 or 8 more terabytes. How do you kind of reach out, and what's kind of the best way to add on additional capacity?
Can you ask James, is that for a physical appliance, for the backup storage, or for the virtual appliance, or is it?
Sorry, yeah, it looks like it is for the 928S.
So just trying to understand, with the physical appliances, you're not able to go in and manually increase the storage on those appliances. If it's adding storage to a archiving unit, then you can, of course, do that, and we would just connect to it through NFS or CIFS. But
Oh, it looks
I'm
like
not 100% sure what he's asking.
Yeah, it looks like he's looking to replace the 4 terabyte drives with 6 terabyte drives for the whole system.
That's a great question. So yeah, at this point in time, if you have an appliance, because we purpose built them for backup and DR when they were purchased, we don't support going in and manually changing the drive size. Now the new appliances, Gen 8, do have 12 terabyte self-healing drives, and we are running that promotion for trade-in till the end of the year. So if increasing that drive size is something that's important to you, definitely reach out to support and or your account manager to see what pricing and configuration for a refresh might look like, to see if that's kind of an effective way to move forward.
All right. It looks like questions are kind of coming to a slow stop here, but if you still have any questions, we are going to leave the bridge open for a little bit. Max, do you have anything else that you'd like to add today?
Yeah, if anyone wants to reach out to me directly, feel free. I just chatted in my email address. So if anybody has any other questions or they want to run through any other scenarios or aspects of the release, please feel free to reach out. I appreciate everybody so much for joining, for listening to me talk for the past hour, and for sharing, what was their favorite Thanksgiving meal. I think out of all the polling questions, that was certainly my favorite. So I'm a little upset that turkey did not win. But
of course it's going to be pie, Max.
I know pie is good too. I like pie. a lot of good pie. So again, thanks everybody for joining. Hope you have a great Christmas. And again, if any other questions, feel free to reach out to me directly.
Yeah, thanks again, Max, and thank you for your time. That was very informative, and I know you're a busy guy, so we do appreciate it. And just a couple of things before we sign off. Again, we did record this demonstration today, so we will be sending that out via email in case you want to forward it along or watch it again or see if there's anything else that you missed that you kind of want to jump back to. So be on the lookout for that email, as well as we will be selecting a winner at the conclusion once we log off here today. So maybe you'll be the lucky one. Keep an eye out for your inbox. Maybe we'll reach out to you with the $500 gift card winning. And then also, again, you guys go ahead and like us or follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. We're constantly doing these types of events, tech demos, educational webinars, product releases, all that fun stuff. So we have a customer one on the 5th. So if you are a customer, you should be seeing an email, or maybe you already did see it come out. I think it did come out yesterday. So look out for that one. And then we do have another one on the 13th for either customers and or prospects, people that are looking to more into the Unitrend solution. So that one is on the 13th of December. So be on the lookout for both of those as well. So with all of that taken care of, I just want to sign off and say have a great day, and thank you for attending.